The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to K4Wins. Kai Gregory, the head of captains for nearly 4 decades. He is Case Kiefer, executive director, chief editor of the Las Vegas Sun. And down the bottom left-hand corner, he is our good friend Kip Kiefer, executive director of the Birmingham Racecourse and Casino. And we're going to be having a big shindig a little bit later on tonight to celebrate the starting lineup and everything that Kip does when it comes to terrestrial and internet radio, including Tony Kurre Radio, which is what we're on today. There's been some internet issues around the world. The whole world's on the lynch. So we got it covered here on TKR, and happy to have everyone listening. And of course, you can podcast us wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're on Audacity, and wherever you get your favorite podcast, we're available. Before we move on, a little homework for Case Kiefer, and you probably have it right now. I need 2 lines, sir. I need the Auburn, Alabama line, because all of a sudden that game means something. And I need a line on Notre Dame, Ohio State. Get to work on those 2 lines, and you could probably pull those up for me immediately. Just curious, those things too popped in my head because now the Auburn-Alabama game means something. Auburn could actually spoil Alabama's season.
That's for sure.
And obviously Notre Dame has just been flying by. I saw again where Ohio State is favored by 30 plus against Rutgers, and Notre Dame favored by 34.5 against Syracuse. Yes, the same Syracuse that beat Clemson earlier this season. And right now it seems like it's those 2 teams and everyone else. What do you got?
Alabama, that game's up. It's a 5.5 point favorite at Auburn. Looks like it multiple sports books, mostly national, not Las Vegas. Did you mean Ohio State, Indiana? Ohio State, Notre Dame, nothing. I don't see Ohio State, Indiana either right now, although I did see last week, and I didn't see this. Someone told me that Ohio State posted as a 3.5 point favorite, which
I guess what I'm asking. I guess what I'm asking.
They're like 39 or 32 over Rutgers. I think I saw.
I guess what I'm asking is, what would you post the line as? Alabama, Notre Dame
for Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Ohio State, Notre Dame. Yes.
On a neutral, looking at it real closely, and now you got to keep in mind I've been way higher on Notre Dame than everyone else, but I'd have Ohio State a 3-point favorite.
3-point favorite, okay. Because I was looking at their lines, and it seems like every week is 30-something. And, of course, they were only a 1.5 favorite against Texas. They were a 9-point favorite against Washington, and everything else has been 20-plus points. So, I mean, they've been blowing teams out, and obviously 7-2 against the spread.
And I always point out this, but, Tony, the difference, too, between the SEC and the Big Ten, every week in the Big Ten, routinely, you've got teams that are 35, 36, 38-point favorites. That never, ever happens in the SEC.
Yeah, and you did say it was Ohio State would be 3 over Indiana?
I think it's not up right now, but I know somewhere last week I posted as a 3.5 point favorite.
Wow.
Ohio State, Indiana for the Big Ten championship. Obviously, the bets will be refunded if it doesn't happen. But I don't know if they just haven't reposted it, but it's definitely not up now. But yeah, someone told me that was the number last week, and I shrugged my shoulders. That made sense to me.
So that's Indiana's for real, man.
That's played in Indianapolis, by the way.
That
kind of gives the Hoos a little bit of an edge, I think.
That is kind of crazy. All right, we'll start with you, Case, because you jump on these games really early and some big line movements. And by the way, congratulations to James Franklin getting the Va Tech job. What a great get for the Hokies. They could not have gotten a better coach for that organization, for sure.
They will win 8 or 9 games a year the rest of his coaching career.
That's all they want. That's all they need. I mean, that's good stuff. I mean, I can remember the one year that Frank Beamer was within one play of going to a national title, and that fell apart. But yeah, I mean, as long as they're sniffing championships, I think that should be enough for Vatek. And again, I don't think it's where he ends his career at. But I do think it's a good step. And there's one thing to think about, too. I know he's 4-21 against top 10 things, blah, 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 blah. Man, you have to give him a little credit, first of all, for having success at Vanderbilt. And obviously, we know that's a possibility now because we saw it the last couple of years. But second of all, he came in during that Jerry Sandusky shit, man, at Penn State. And I mean, I remember doing morning radio, and people were saying Penn State was never going to win a championship again. They were done. Like they were not going to win 10 double-digit games again for the next 20 years because of that Sandusky thing. And I was like, come on, guys. I mean, unless they just forego the entire program, which they were thinking about doing. But he went in there, man, and started winning all kinds of games, right off the bat for Penn State, and took obviously a job that a lot of people did not want to have anything to do with, and had a lot of success there for it. So,
well, he still hadn't won a championship though.
He won the Big Ten once.
He won a Big Ten once, and he played for a semifinal in a playoff game.
That's the one that they want. I thought national championship. Who cares? I mean, to me, forever and whoever goes there, it's always going to be Pedophile State University, and I hope they lose every game they play.
Yeah. Well, but again, for Vatek, what a great get. And he's in the process of working out his negotiation with Penn State. He was owed $49 million. They'll probably back off that a little bit as well. Big nine movers. And it's interesting because there are a couple of games that have moved quite a bit. USC Oregon, which I think is really interesting. You've been high on USC all season, open at 14.5 down to 10. That jumped right off the bat. Any movement on that game, or did you see that game or get on it early?
I saw the opposite. Maybe it's you guys. I don't know what books you're using or whatever. It could be a little different. But in Vegas, I'm actually kicking myself as high as I've been on USC. I think Sunday night only one book, or Saturday night, and I couldn't bet it. But Oregon was only a 6.5-point favorite, which I thought was extremely low. And I wish I could have jumped on Oregon, but by the time I woke up and could have bet it more places, it was back. It was like 7.5, 8, 9. Now mostly at 10. Seems about right to me. As much as I've said Oregon's going to lose one of these games, I still think they could. They lost another receiver. I know I talked about their injuries last week on the show. Last week, they are just like severely beaten up. Now there's been some rumblings that some of those guys could return this week. But I'm getting sidetracked. I just think USC against almost their entire schedule, other than Notre Dame, which I actually upgraded them for the Notre Dame game. I think they played Notre Dame really well, but they've just had better athletes than everyone they play. I mean, they're just faster. They have NFL guys at the skill positions, and I think this is the week that kind of runs out. I mean, Oregon, even in their diminished state, it's unbelievable. I don't know where they find these freshmen they throw on the field, but they look like the at their best, they look like one of the fastest teams you'll ever see, and they just have so much talent that I think that's going to be a tough thing for USC to deal with. 9.5, 10. Honestly, now I think it's probably in the right range. That's a giant line move, so it's probably not groundbreaking, but I'm kicking myself that I didn't bet Oregon minus 6.5 because that was the only one that was available to me. And if I saw 14.5, it would be the opposite. I would be dying to be on USC. I think those are both extremes, and we've landed probably around where it should be.
We've been talking about this all year long. Those coaching changes, they can change some lines. Vatek catching 17.5 is now down to 15 or 15.5, depending on how you look at it. A lot of people, I guess, feel like since Franklin's getting that job, that all of a sudden Miami's going to come up a little softer than they normally would, but it's jumped about 2.5 points. Any thoughts on Miami Vatek as we get near to the end of the season?
Another one I didn't bet. I didn't have a whole lot this week. Honestly, I could have bet Miami minus 17, and I thought about it. I think that the Hurricanes have kind of shook off some of their troubles. They've looked better the last 2 weeks. We've talked about the interim coach bump, but usually that goes like a week or two. I don't trust Phil Montgomery at all. I mean, I think he was one of the worst coaches in the country at Tulsa. I don't think Virginia Tech's looked particularly sharp. It's just 17, kind of a semi-key number. I'm not rushing to lay 18, but if this somehow went back the other way, I could only lay it because I think Miami's just a cut above all these teams. And man, the toughest loss last week, even though I had no money on the game, I just really wish Boston College would have held on against Georgia Tech,
who I liked all week, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I have a lot of Miami.
College. Yep, we did post Boston College.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, good.
I'm biased because I have a lot of Miami futures, but I think just if you're a fan of the best teams competing for titles, you want to see Miami in the ACC championship game. And I think they had a real chance if Boston College won that game. Obviously, it didn't happen, and now they need, like a 16 parlay to hit to get there. But I still think Miami's just way better than all these teams, despite the losses to SMU and Louisville.
Speaking of the devil,
parlays do hit one out of every 400 times you play them.
There you go. Speaking of the devil, how were the numbers this past week, Kai?
I knew there was something I forgot to do. I didn't look.
Oh man!
I know we were 3-1 on Sunday. We hit like I said, Kip's Boston College. We had a triple play winner on Alabama over their team total in the first half. Unfortunately, that 6-minute drive that got about 22 yards for Alabama there at the end didn't help us with their over 25.5. We hit Notre Dame, of course. That was a big play from everybody here. I ended up with a winning weekend. We have not gotten to 1,000 wins yet. That should come this weekend, if not this week.
Kip's Best 12 coming up here. We do it every Tuesday. Of course, the CFP will do their voting. And I know you said there's not a whole lot to change. That's okay. If a lot doesn't change, there shouldn't be. But there was one game I have to give you all the time in the world to. You said 3 weeks ago 2 words that I always thought you were going to eat, and that is Texas sucks. And
I said it 6 weeks ago.
And I told you yesterday during our show, we were doing the Keeper and Curry show. I want to give you the floor because you said it. Good for you. They do have 3 losses. I think they still like a 15% chance to make the playoffs. But I don't think anyone thought they were going to get blown out like they did. That line fell all the way down to 3.5, which was weird. That's the second week or third week in a row where I've seen a big time game drop like 3 or 4 points right before kickoff. And I'm thinking to myself, why in the hell? Real quick case, what did you see in that game to see that line jump so far down in Texas advantage's way?
And everybody was picking them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just someone very influential with a lot of money like Texas. I honestly, and I know I was on the fence of this game all week, but you can read what I said. I was tempted to bet Georgia at kickoff. If they got to 3, there was 0. I for 100% would have fired at 3. I didn't end up doing it at 3.5, but I don't know who it was. A lot of times when there's this huge move, you hear some murmurings. There's one, probably the most famous sports bettor of all time, usually can get down enough money to get it that low. I didn't hear any connections with him, but someone just lost a boatload for that big of a game, for that big of a move on game day. I mean, someone's betting like 6 figures on the one side. So obviously they were wrong. And I'll let Kick talk. I feel like that was a Kirby Smart legacy game. I was so impressed with the coaching staff. I've been a big critic of Mike Bobo too. I thought he just was really in his bag. And man, with the game on the, I kind of thought Texas. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought Texas was gonna win when it was 14-10. It just felt like everything was trending their way, and I was so impressed with the coaching staff. I think to turn that into a blowout in the fourth quarter.
Hey, Kip, I got a softball for you. I was watching ESPN yesterday, and Stanford Steve said that was not a blowout. That was a much closer game than the final score. Because Georgia scored, and then they got the onside kick and scored again, and then they scored again. So it was really only a 4-point game. It was not a blowout.
Oh, I see. Well, that's an interesting interpretation, since Texas, on the only mistake Gunnar Stockton's made in about 3 weeks, capitalized and got it in the end zone. And Georgia did exactly what they did last year in Austin when the ridiculous showering of the field led to a reversal of the call. Texas scored to cut that game at the time to a 3-point margin from the 10 that it was, and Georgia on that drive in the third quarter, exactly like this time, went down methodically and scored a touchdown to extend the lead again, just like this game. And to dismiss the onside kick, which was a brilliant tactic that Texas didn't expect. Kirby Smart out coaching Steve Sarkisian again. Huge advantage in the coaching ranks in that game, because as much as I liked Sarkisian before, with this Texas, I didn't like the Texas team last year. And the only reason I got offended last week when I was getting some flack from you guys on this is because you guys were basically accusing me of fandom. I have diagnosed this Texas team long before the Georgia game, and anybody who watches the games could have told you this team can't run the ball, and they don't protect Arch Manning worth a damn. Their offensive line is pitiful. They are really porous and not good. It's the same issue that Alabama's having right now, not being able to run the ball. Teams understand that they're not going to get hurt putting pressure on Ty Simpson, and all of a sudden you've got Alabama with some warts. So the offensive line, such a key to teams, and that's the reason that I don't think this Texas team is very good. Not to mention, Arch Manning is not at a point in his development where he can take over a game and win it for you. I told you guys, Texas not being able to run the ball. Georgia's defense had been a little suspect. Everybody labeled them. Georgia's defense isn't very good. Well, Georgia's defense against the run has been outstanding all year. The secondary has been burned at times, but if you watch recent games, this team is really starting to gel, arguably more than just about any of the other top teams in the country. They're young, and they made a lot of mistakes early in the year, but Kirby has a well-oiled machine going right now in Athens, and I'm not forecasting any greatness, but this team is positioned as well as just about anybody else. So my doubts about Texas, I diagnosed them a long time ago, so that wasn't a Johnny come lately analysis of the game. And people that like Greg McElroy getting on go, well, you're going to see the real Arch Manning step up, the one we've expected all year. And Texas just has better athletes. They're going to beat Georgia. And there was all kinds of guys spewing that kind of nonsense. You're going to have to really play a full scale game with a full deck to beat this Georgia team right now, because Gunnar Stockton, nobody's talking about him for Heisman consideration, but that kid is playing as well at quarterback as anybody in the country.
All right, so last week,
Ty Simpson probably lost the Heisman Saturday.
Yeah,
his performance.
21 touchdowns, one pick going into that goal game. You look at those numbers. I mean, that's just, it's silly to have, it used to be, if you could go a 2-1 on touchdowns over picks in any league, it was good. And he's 21-1. I mean, it was crazy. And of course, he throws the pick early in the game. Last week, Kip, you had in Kip's 12 best: A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Texas Tech, BYU, Miami, and Notre Dame. Have any of those changed this week?
No, I wanted to put Utah in. I thought Utah's performance at TCU was astounding, but then I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning and watched BYU. They were at TCU. Let me correct that. TCU went out to BYU. BYU just boat raced them, and BYU looked great doing it. I don't understand the BYU line this week. We can get to that in a few minutes, but yeah, I wanted to make a change and put Utah in, but BYU didn't allow me to. I will say in my top 12, Oklahoma solidified their position. The College Football Playoff Committee did not have Oklahoma in their top 12 last week, and I continue to insist, and I think Case touched on it a minute ago, Miami is one of the 12 best teams in the country. They might have one of the 12 worst coaches in the country, but Miami, the team, if it's supposed to be the 12 best teams, Miami is definitely one of them, and the way they've played the last 2 weeks is shoring up that. So I've got the same 12 this week. If I was numbering them, I would have them in different order. I think Oregon has to win against USC because I heard Heather Dinich saying again that Michigan and USC are positioned, the Big Ten isn't as weak as everybody's saying, because they're now both positioned to get in the playoff. If USC gets in the playoff, I think that means Oregon's going to get I think they're going to take Oregon's spot if they beat them this week. So, but yeah, I've got the same 12 and did not see anybody getting into that. The other team on the periphery, unbelievably, Vanderbilt is hanging around. If Vanderbilt beats Kentucky and Tennessee, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that they're not one of the best 12 teams.
Guy, one of the things I love to do, and most of us love to do, is to see how a team performs after they just had a monster win, and Oklahoma's coming off that big win on the road.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now they're only giving up 7.5 at home against Mizzou. How do you see that game? It seems like every week Mizzou's line 7, whether they're favored by 7 or down by 7. I think it's the third or fourth week in a row it's been 7 or 7.5, whether they're favored or not. But yeah, right now 7.5 for Oklahoma and Missouri.
And are they going to have the hangover with it? That's a great question, because Missouri is not abundantly talented, but they're really scrappy, and they've been a thorn in the side of a lot of teams. A&M dispatched them pretty easily a couple of weeks ago, and the freshman quarterback showed he could play a little bit last week, putting up 55 points in their game. So, watch out here, Oklahoma. Upset alert, perhaps in Norman, because if they're get fat and happy off their 2-game win streak at Tennessee and Alabama, which were incredible accomplishment to go on the road and win in both of those venues when they had to have it. But this is a game they better show up and be ready to play, because Missouri is a pretty scrappy bunch.
It's in Missouri.
I've got that game in Oklahoma. Are you sure? Because
I've got it.
It's Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
They're playing both their last two. They got Oklahoma this week and LSU next week at Oklahoma.
The big factor for me is I honestly, thank God I looked a little more into it, because snap reaction, I wanted to bet Oklahoma. I still don't like Zollers at all. I think you look at his numbers, he's thrown for like 120 yards and completing like 30% of his passes. I mean, Ahmad Hardy's just probably been the best running back. I'm a Jeremiah Love guy, but I think Hardy might just be another level. I know Mississippi State's rush defense is terrible, but what did he put up 230 last week and 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, unbelievable.
He's been good here all year. He's been good. He's been great all year, and no one's been talking about him.
I think the reason this line is depressed is, out of nowhere, and it seems shocking of how bad it looked, is Perbula warmed up on Saturday, and there was a report yesterday that there's early optimism that he could return for the Oklahoma
Really?
game.
I thought he broke his leg.
That's what it looked like. So if he's back,
Jeez.
I definitely give Missouri a chance. If it's Zollers, I think Oklahoma's rush defense is too good. I don't think they can rely on that. So this totally hinges on the quarterback to me. I keep your ear to the ground on the Perbula news.
Interesting.
Hey, I want to go back to Kip's top 12 because, and I told you, Tony, before I was going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
And I've really, really looked at it since Saturday, since Alabama lost. Who has what two-loss team has a worse loss than Alabama?
Nobody.
Nobody has a worse loss than losing to Florida State.
That's why if they lose to Auburn, they are out.
3-17. Well, I think you can make a case. Obviously, Notre Dame's ranked, I think, ahead of them right now or going in.
We'll see tonight if that stays that way.
Utah, I think, should get in over Alabama with their losses to BYU and Texas Tech. 2-loss Michigan only lost to USC and Oklahoma. Those are much better losses than losing to freaking Florida State.
That's for sure.
Their 2 losses. I mean, Louisville and SMU. SMU's not ranked. Louisville is. So you could argue that they have not as bad a loss as Alabama. I guess Virginia, since their 2 losses and they lost to NC State and Wake, those are probably worse. But both of those teams in the ACC are ranked higher than Florida State. I mean, Florida State lost to a Stanford team that only beat Boston College and San Jose State. And I know Alabama had a good run, but if you're talking from beginning to end, the body of work says other teams should make it over Alabama.
Well, the Alabama argument is going to be the quality of wins they had, and I think it was overblown. The gauntlet that Alabama went through, that's what all the Alabama fans were so excited about, that they were beating all these ranked teams. But, a lot of them are, Vanderbilt.
No. I mean, they beat Georgia. They beat
Vanderbilt. That's the best win of anybody.
They beat Vanderbilt, who you just said should be in the top 12.
Yeah.
Possible top 12.
And
they beat Missouri. They beat Missouri, who's got their quarterback.
Who's sketchy,
and they beat Tennessee.
And the Georgia win. The Georgia win kind of negates the Florida State loss for Alabama's resume.
They win LSU. I mean, I don't know what else schedule-wise they'd have to do to show anybody else that they can play. And they're in the SEC.
Lose Florida State.
There's no doubt.
That's the worst loss any contender has.
But do you remember who Notre Dame lost to last year? Northern Illinois. They got in.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying if you sit down and you're looking at 10 2-loss teams to get the last 4 spots, because it's not the best 12 teams. It's not.
It's supposed to be.
And that's why we do Kip's best 12. That's why we're doing his best 12.
That's why I'm saying, as you get into this, what is Alabama going to be ranked tonight and why? And yes, things could change. Obviously, they've got to lose in Auburn.
They'll be 10th. They'll be 9th or 10th. They lost 6 spots in the AP poll. They were the only team that lost anything.
And people here will be bitching about that.
They'll be 9th or 10th tonight.
Well, I mean, all I know is for a damn 2 weeks or a week, all I've heard from Alabama fans is how much Oklahoma sucked and how bad Tennessee sucks for losing to Oklahoma. Well, not a damn one of those people said a word. Saturday night, Sunday at church, hunting Saturday, anything. Nobody said anything.
For all you knuckleheads out there saying, there's no way Alabama's going to lose to Mississippi 2 years in a row. Hugh Freeze did it. There's no way Alabama's going to lose to Oklahoma 2 years in a row. They knocked them out of the playoffs last season. Guess what? You just got beat at home again by 2.
But Alabama did double them up offensively. I mean, they
that's right.
The game away.
3 turnovers and a long punt return killed them. Absolutely.
That's part of the game.
But is Alabama one of the best 12 teams in the country? Absolutely.
But again, that's not what the committee is going to do.
No, and they may have just saved their own ass by losing that game, because there's a chance they're not going to play in their conference championship and they're going to get in because they got 2 losses.
And it really makes the drama of the end of the SEC season. If Texas does rise up in Austin and beat Texas A&M, and we haven't even talked about that game on Saturday. Good grief, A&M, South Carolina. It was the most bizarre game of all time. But
great halftime bet.
Very well done. If Texas beats Texas A&M, then you've got all these one-loss teams and all these tiebreakers. I mean, the drama now going down the stretch in the SEC couldn't be better.
No, that's going to be fantastic, man. And I couldn't be happier that the Auburn Alabama game is actually going to mean something. I mean, just for this state, I think that's fantastic. And the fact that that line's only 5.5, I can only imagine where all the
I would have
money's
thought
going
that
to be
would have
going.
been 7 or 8, or at least
Yeah, I
seven
would
and a
have
half.
too. When you said 5.5, I was like, wow, are you kidding me? Because that looks like a smelly fish, but that's certainly something to get into. Kai, I want to ask you about your Tennessee Volunteers too, taking on a Florida squad, giving up 4.5. That line looks a little small for me too. I know it's down in Gatorland, but it's still Tennessee. What's your thoughts on that game?
Tennessee hadn't won at Florida in 8 billion years.
Yeah.
There's that problem with giving up a couple of fourth down plays. One of them a 65-yard touchdown pass to end the game a few years ago. Here's the problem. Tennessee's beat up. And one of the most uninspiring bullshit games I've ever seen this past Saturday against New Mexico State. They did nothing. Two starting defensive ends sat out of the game, and Jordan Ross may not be back this week, which is big. Boo Carter's been kicked off the team, which should have happened, at the beginning of the season. It was ridiculous that he's even on the team. Both the starting and backup running back are both hurt. Kitzelman, tight end, got hurt. He may be out. I've got to look at it more, but just right away. And yeah, I know I talk against Tennessee, but at Florida, it is foolish to bet Tennessee. Absolutely foolish. You either bet Florida, take the 4.5 points, or you don't bet the game.
But of course, Florida's schizo. So are they going to? They showed up at Ole Miss. They sure as hell didn't show up at Kentucky. But in the swamp, I tend to side with Kai there. I think they're going to. It's still Tennessee, Florida. They're going to muster up a lot of effort on the home turf.
Which, hey, by the way, who's going to start at quarterback at Auburn since Daniels is being encouraged and is going to redshirt? According to DJ Durkin.
Which is unbelievable if they do that.
To save a season for him.
Yeah, I know, which is in a game of that magnitude, I heard that nugget, and I've been kind of incredulous about that because that's the game everybody points to. That's the game of the year, and now the game means everything. It salvages Auburn's whole season if they knock Alabama out of the playoffs. I can't imagine they wouldn't go with their best guy.
I mean, it made Patrick Nick's career when he was at Auburn. When Stan White got knocked out and Nick came in and threw a touchdown pass late. I mean, it made his whole lure at Auburn. And so why not? I mean, I get the redshirt thing and 4 games and all that, but man, why not give this kid who's done a decent job a chance? Because you don't have a chance with Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, because I've never seen such a turnaround. I thought he was absolutely no talent in his first couple appearances, but he put on a show in the Vanderbilt game and really showed what he's made of. So I can't imagine anybody else starting a quarterback in that game. And if they do make that decision, and maybe the justification, well, Jackson Arnold beat Alabama last year. Well, Jackson Arnold doesn't look like he can beat Kennesaw State right now.
Well, and with them having Mercer this weekend too, it's an de facto bye week for them, Alabama, so they can have some fun this weekend too, and they probably should win 45-0. Let's run around the horn.
Tennessee had their bye week against New Mexico State, and they literally lost. Could be without 8 starters that went down in that game.
Crazy. You never know. Also, A&M's got Samford, another de facto bye week. I hate these late season games. I mean, I'm happy.
And that's not even the worst. Georgia, Charlotte, and Alabama, East Illinois. I mean, that is just pathetic.
I don't think there's a line on the Texas A&M Samford game yet. I haven't seen it. And I mean,
there's not.
Samford's 1-9, I think, and fired their coach.
Yeah, there's not a line on that game yet. I'm sitting here looking at it as of right now, so we'll probably have that a little bit later on in the week. Case, any other early games you jumped on? We kind of got into this, some things that you pulled the trigger on real quick, some lines that we probably can't get, but I'm curious to see how you did on those. That's where you make your money.
Hey, and tell us about Hawaii and UNLV Friday night. I think that's going to be an incredible game.
Yeah, it'll have actually a really good crowd too. One of the UNLV's getting pretty good draws now that they've been good the last few years. But this game, I think a lot of people don't realize about Vegas is like we're so many Hawaii people. They call it the Ninth Island. Their quarterback, Micah Alahado, is maybe the best high school football player in Nevada history at Bishop Gorman. I think he had like something like 70 touchdowns and 1 interception as a 3-year starter. He's just absolutely insane. He's smaller. That's the only reason he's at Hawaii. He just didn't have the prototypical size to to get these bigger programs. But as good as he's been at Hawaii this year, and I think their last game they beat San Diego State, who had become odds-on favorite to win the Mountain West. They crushed them 38-7. All that being said, I think that performance does kind of weigh in my mind that Hawaii now is like the highest they've ever been in the market. I love to see it. I was a big backer of this team. I have them over wins. Like I said, a big fan of Alejado, but I just think at any other point of the season, UNLV is a bigger favorite here. Now it's hard to lay any points with UNLV because like every game is 52-49 going into overtime, whatever. But UNLV is pretty comfortable like in these shootouts. I really think it's going to be a blow for blow, a ton of points. But because there's going to be a ton of points, I think it's a little easier to lay 3. And I honestly didn't bet much this week, but UNLV -3 was one of the smaller ones I laid. I just think it's I think there'll be a lot of points. I think they have a chance to separate themselves. There's no doubt they have the better roster. Hawaii's played a little bit better this year, and you could say the home field advantage is not going to be the same. It's going to be like 50-50 Hawaii fans. There's tons of Hawaii people here, so that game should be interesting. I landed on UNLV. Again, I didn't land on a whole lot. A couple things. I guess this is week 3 where we've come on Tuesday night action, and I'm going to bet on the same team. I'm 1-1 the last 2 weeks. Let's see if I can finish 2-1 or 1-2. Yeah, I bet Akron +3.5 tonight at Bowling Green. Bowling Green's down to like their 3rd quarterback and just been awful. If there's an old friend, I know former SEC quarterback who's terrible in Notre Dame, Drew Pine is their starter.
God,
but he's
I've been
hurt
in Missouri. Good grief, he's awful.
Yeah, I can't believe though. I mean, they need him back. If there's, I will try to get out of this if somehow he's able to come back. He hasn't played in several weeks, but he's way better than their other options. But right now, yeah, I'm going to take +3.5 with Akron. They didn't come through for me last week. I gave it out on the show, but they took it to overtime. They were probably the better team, but had some turnovers, so I'm on Akron. And another team I think I bet 2 weeks ago on the show, I look again. This was actually my biggest bet. It's moved a lot. I bet Wisconsin +10 hosting Illinois. I just think these teams are super similar. They're 2 of the slowest paced teams in the nation. They're just going to run the for the most part, they're going to run the play clock down and try to get 4 yards and march down the field that way. I just don't think there's a big difference. Illinois' offense definitely a little more explosive, but I think Wisconsin's defense is actually better. So this is down to like 7.5, 8, just as long as you get over a touchdown. I didn't even think it would move this much, but yeah, I like Wisconsin as the big home underdog.
All right, Kai, any other games? If you looked at the entire schedule, you look at it about the same time Case does, but anything jumping out to you right off the bat?
Tonight I've got to go against the Fighting Tony Currys, the UMass Minutemen. Ohio laying the 33. I mean, I like Akron in that situation. I think the upset that screws some things up for everybody come Saturday. Pitt goes to Georgia Tech in a game that their coach cares about, unlike their last game, and beats Georgia Tech. And I don't like saying that because I love Haynes King, Brett Lee. I love everything there, but I'm really liking that game. I also like Jeremiah Love to go over whatever his touchdowns and rushing yardage is this weekend. But I'm really sitting on that. And like Kip brought up earlier, this BYU at Cincy game, that line is really
is somebody hurt for BYU that I don't know about? Because I watched them and they were a machine on Saturday night. TCU is not a bad team, and they grinded them right up.
What is it, 3.5?
Case, why
2.5. I leaned BYU too. I didn't end up betting this. I just honestly, and I was very impressed by BYU. I agree. I've been a big detractor of theirs. I still think I kind of agree with Kai. I think it's got to be the most deserving team, so they would be in the 12 for that. But if we're still just going on 12 strictly best teams, even despite the TCU win, I wouldn't have them in the top 12. That being said, I've bet against Cincinnati like every single week this year. If you guys have, I've been fading both these teams a lot, but I trust BYU a little more than Cincinnati. I would consider laying it here. I think BYU early in the season, I mean, Bachmeier's gotten so much better. It was like they just played tough. Hit you, man ball. Bachmeier, couldn't throw the ball, scrambled, but now he can actually throw. I think it's given their offense dimensions. I think Cincinnati's defense is just not very good at all. So I lean BYU. It sounds like with you guys.
Bachmeier is the young Haynes King.
It scares me, though, because I know I shouldn't hold him back for the sins of his brother. But if you remember, Hank Bachmeier as a freshman at Boise State was a lot like this. And then by the end of it, they were running him out of town. I think he finished at Louisiana Tech, and they weren't even they weren't even bowl eligible that year. So hopefully Bear has a little more lasting power, because Hank really fizzled out. But yeah, I think I've been a big critic. I bet BYU under. I was dead wrong. I bet against them most weeks, but they've been he's gotten way better, and I think you got to give it up for the Cougars.
Yeah, and it's a bad loss. Cincinnati, bad loss this past Saturday. Arizona is okay, but they go into Cincinnati and win that game. So that makes me think the Bearcats have peaked and are not playing on a very high level right now.
And I was with you on that game too. You actually had Cincinnati minus 6.5 on the show, and obviously anytime I get a chance to bet on a home team, I was going to get after it. Swordsman plays a lot different at home than he does on the road. Plays a lot better at home, so that's why I kind of thought maybe they'd have a shot there against Arizona, but they just didn't show up. Kip, your floor now. What other games are out there that just kind of amazed you, or what you're looking forward to, or thinking to yourself, wow, what the hell's going on here?
You know, we just talked about BYU. That's the line that I got question marks by my little notes on my iPad here, because I would have thought BYU would be 6 or 7 in that game, so I'm kind of surprised. We've already talked about Florida. I think if Florida has the mindset to show up in this game, it's going to be tough for Tennessee to win there. 4.5 is a pretty good number if it's still holding at that. You know, the Tech Pittsburgh game is really a tough one for me. I was thoroughly unimpressed with seeing Pittsburgh, because that was the early game and I watched a lot of it. Notre Dame just steamrolled them, and Notre Dame's clearly a better team, one of the 12 best. I can't believe there are still people complaining that Notre Dame is being considered as one of the playoff teams, because, you know, for them to open the season at Miami and then host Texas A&M, I said at start of the season there was very likely they were going to be 0-2. But if you watch week to week, Notre Dame just mauls people. They just run up and down the field and score at will. So they are definitely one of the 12 best teams. That being said, you know, so maybe Pittsburgh just was outclassed, and Kai just brought it up. Narduzzi was insisting that he didn't care about the Notre Dame game. He just wanted to win the next 2 and get to the ACC championship game. Tech is not playing like they did earlier in the year, and their defense has been exposed. They've given up a boatload of points. I think 73 points in the last 2 weeks to NC State and Boston College. Not a good look. But back in Atlanta, I don't really know which way I'm leaning in this game. I just kind of think Tech might find a way to win to make the magnitude of the Georgia game even greater. But that's a tough one. But it's a game that I'm definitely intrigued by. I kind of like. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Vanderbilt at home. You know, I'm not a Kentucky guy at all. I've been a huge detractor of Mark Stoops, but you got to like the development of this freshman quarterback Boley after the viral video star Calzada went out and made his video about stacks and flashing his $100 bills, made total ass out of himself. This Boley kid has been really impressive for Kentucky, putting up big points in a couple of games. They just completely obliterated Florida a couple weeks ago. They're catching 10 in the line I saw going into Vanderbilt. And I think Kentucky kind of believes that they're a legitimate contender, a contending team, not a contender for anything except for to be competitive on Saturday. But I think this is a stressful game for Vanderbilt, already kind of looking ahead to the trip to Knoxville next week, where there might be a lot on the line. I'm inclined to say Kentucky will stay in that number. And we've already mentioned Missouri too. I think Oklahoma maybe a little bit full of themselves off of their back-to-back road wins. I did not know about the Prebula rumor. He looked like he was severely injured in that game. So if he's about to come back, that would be amazing. But Hardy alone kind of negates that. So, you know, show me Missouri, but I think perhaps Missouri might be a pain in Oklahoma's side here, and the Sooners might only win by a field goal, and Missouri get a cover.
I'm going to put my rose-colored glasses
on
on.
an island. I think Oklahoma blows them out.
Yeah, put my rose-colored glasses on for my UAB Blazers. They do have two really good games coming up. Well, two really good teams, should I say? South Florida, the Bulls playing, and they're coming into Protective this weekend. And of course, North Texas, the Mean Green, the following week. So if you get a chance, you want to see some good college football. It's not going to cost you a stinking fortune. Go down to Protective and support your UAB Blazers. The Blazers catching 21 and a half, and I have been told by a little birdie
And
that
you can
Alex,
probably get in for $21.
you probably can. You could probably get in cheaper than that. And the weather's going to be great. If you just love college football and you want to see some college football, go watch the game. I'm sure UAB would appreciate that. Obviously, their season's lost. I've been told by a little birdie that Alex Mortensen will not be the new head coach for the UAB Blazers, which surprised me a little bit. And they will have a new head coach by Thanksgiving, which, by the way, is next Thursday. So we'll find out. And it evidently is someone I know. So a name that we've heard before that is head coaching at another team right now. So that should be interesting, and I'm looking forward to
Probably
seeing.
Niblet. They're going to bring him out from high school, and put him.
Well, yeah, and it's not.
It's worked out so well.
I have been told that it is not a high school coach. It is a college coach, and it is someone who's a head coach right now in college. So again, like it could be a Kennesaw State kind of guy, could be a Jacksonville State guy, could be a Sanford.
It's not you, Freeze.
It's not Stanford. He got fired.
You know what? We take you, Freeze.
Oh God, you will. You do not want you Freeze.
Oh hell, if he doesn't shave his face again, I'd take Hugh Freeze all day long, man.
Oh, good grief!
Yeah,
you can have Christian music for warm-ups at Protective Stadium.
They could go down there and be selling 900 line services for their collective. I mean, they'd be having going on. It'd be fantastic. All right, pro football: Pitt, Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay,
hold on,
Indy.
Tommy.
What?
Hold on, you've got way more important things going tonight than the NFL. You've got the Champions Classic. And I know people have got this. You got Michigan State, Kentucky, and Kansas Duke tonight.
Okay, well, go.
College basketball.
Talk about it, baby. It's the floor's you. Go.
No Peterson for Kansas, I think, is huge. But Michigan State, Kentucky, I mean, let's be honest. And I know, and he's never really said it, I know Case loves Tom Izzo and thinks he's a great coach. Because, let's be honest, he is, especially in tournaments. This is kind of a tournament setting, going there. Kentucky, Mark Pope, who knows? Kentucky has the better lineup, in this game, but laying 5.5 against a Tom Izzo team that doesn't have any pressure on them, number 11 versus 17, a great game right after that. Kansas, number 24 at Duke, number 5, who's starting, I think, 4 freshmen in the game, but Peterson is out for Kansas, so really like Duke to handle that business tomorrow. Arizona and UConn playing number 4 versus number 3. I am staying on my Arizona bandwagon. Just for the record, tomorrow night, whatever the line is for UConn, I'll take Arizona. And tomorrow night, Alabama and Illinois also. Four huge college basketball games coming up in the next 2 days.
No doubt. Jump on them, man. And thanks for bringing those up. We try to go show by show. And of course, we do this show live. And we try to talk about stuff down the road because we only do the show on Tuesdays and Fridays. And so we want to make sure that people got something to think about. We do have some pro football action going on this weekend. Pitt, Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, Indy, Kansas City. I know you've been on Indy all year long. We'll get your thoughts on that. Philadelphia, Dallas, Tampa Bay, LA. I've been seeing something all week long, and I'm getting kind of sick and tired of it. The question is, it's been on First Take. It's been all over ESPN. Are the Chicago Bears a good football team? Can you answer that question for me, Case? Are they? Do I care? I really don't give a squat. But everyone keeps saying, the Chicago Bears, what are they, 6-3? They seem to be a pretty good team. Why do we keep asking this question?
I think they might be 7-3 even.
Why do we keep asking the question? Why wouldn't they be?
I think it's valid. I guess my answer would be hedge a little. I'd say they're not a bad team, but I wouldn't go as far as to say they're a good team. Look, it's what we talk about. In the NFL, the margins are just so slight. I mean, anything can happen, and they're just having every bounce go their way. I think out of those 7 wins, the 5 of them, it seems like 5 of them have come down to the final minute, and it's not against even good teams. I mean, even when they're playing the dregs, and
the Raiders.
We were making fun of the Raiders. I mean, they needed a miracle to beat the Raiders. Well, last week they came back and won in the final minute. I mean, with one of the worst. I mean, J.J. McCarthy is absolutely terrible in that game. Caught fire late. They score. They come back to win. I haven't seen enough. I mean, the Chiefs are a team we always talk about ground zero of this. I mean, they really haven't been the Chiefs of like the Tyreek Hill, early Patrick Mahomes days the last couple years, and they just find ways at the end of games. And now this year it's going the opposite. Like, does anyone in the world think the Bears are better than the Chiefs? And the Chiefs are just the Chiefs are having the bounces go the other way, and it's 5-5. So I think the Bears are fine. They're about league average. I think they found a really, really good coach. I was super high on Ben Johnson, and I think that has.
What are we hearing about Aaron Rodgers' injury situation? Are we hearing anything about that? I know he got benched out yesterday, and of course they didn't need him against Cincinnati Bengals. But what's he like? And I know the line's only 3.
Yeah, I've heard that there's some concern that he might have a break in it. I think was the report yesterday. So for me, if I was forecasting, I would say he's not playing. But I also, and I'm not a Rodgers hater. He's actually been better than he hasn't been great this year. He's been pretty bad the last 3 weeks. I do like that he's kind of just shut up and assimilated to the Tomlin system, because all the Jets problems last year, he was so tone deaf. They were all on him. I mean, the most hilarious story ever was when he said, everyone just needs to be quiet and focus on the things of winning and stop creating distractions, when he was the one creating every single distraction with his just bizarre comments he'd make every week on the McAfee show. So I think you got to be enthused with the way he's went into the program this year, but he hasn't been great. I think you can plug and play Rudolph, and it's not that big of a difference to me. So I don't have any bets on that game. But yeah, if I was guessing right now, obviously we'll get a practice report, injury report tomorrow, but I would think he's at least sitting this one out.
Guy, you've been on Indiana Jones all year long. You're catching 3.5 on the road at KC, the Chefs. What do you think?
Difficult place to play. There's no way that I would lay it. I just don't think Kansas City's they're getting worse breaks or probably than Baltimore. But, no. I'm taking Indiana Jones still. I'm sticking there. Jonathan Taylor going to go for about 150, 160 against that defense, something like that. But I've got a question because I know we always talk about look-aheads. We've always talked about that. And I'm just wondering what the look-ahead was on this game at the beginning of the year. Because you can have look-aheads for every game in the NFL beginning. Is there any chance New England would have been an 8-point favorite at Cincy preseason, or would that not have been 8 to 10 points the other way?
I have Cincinnati -5.5 coming into the season in that game. So yeah, you're right.
13.5-point swing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's about right.
And we keep harking back to the Raiders. The Patriots are 8-2, and their opening game they lost at home to the Raiders.
And
I'm just going to say, Titans, you are reaping what you sow, getting rid of Vrabel, you absolute morons.
Yep, they're the stupidest franchise for sure.
That's a prime example of changing an atmosphere for a guy. Just changes everything. I don't think he wanted to be at Tennessee. I know that he played there, and I know that he loves that area, but I think he wanted to get the hell out because he wasn't getting the pieces, the skill players he needed to win traditionally well. And of course, once Henry was gone, it was pretty much over. Yeah, I will say this too about the Cincinnati thing, and I know Joe Flacco went for 470 a couple weeks ago. Damn it, put a facial expression on or something. Do something. Joe Flacco looks like a scared bird, like when you look at a bush and you pull the bushes back and there's a bird sitting right there and it doesn't think you see it. It just sits there and goes like this. It doesn't move. Joe Flacco needs to do something. I don't know what his leadership skills are. I know he's still got an arm. I know he's banged up, but damn it, he doesn't make any facial expressions at anything in the game, and it pisses me off.
And if you even think back to his high water mark, he's never been an emotional leader. He's like robotic. That's one of the things I've never liked about him.
God, it pisses me off, though. But at this age now, he's 41 years old. I mean, get pissed off at something, for God's sakes. I mean, the guy, he threw one of the worst picks I've ever seen in the world go right in the middle of the football field, and they're like, they said Joe Flacco has a great game face. You can never tell whether he's winning or losing. Well, maybe that's his fucking problem.
I don't think that's a good quality in a quarterback. I think you got to be a little bit fiery.
Oh, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy as a fan to see us down 25, and he doesn't smile. He doesn't laugh. He's not pissed off. He's not doing anything. And then Jamar Chase is sitting there spitting in Ramsey's face, and I'm going, what the hell's going on with this team? It's totally lost it. It's crazy. Anything else going on in the National Football League you guys want to get into? Obviously, we look a lot more fervently into the NFL on our Friday show at 10 o'clock. And by the way, we'll be back on the Coastal Digital Sports Network. There's been some internet issues across the country. Everyone's being affected by it. Thank goodness Tony Kurre Radio is up and roaring. But anything else you guys want to get into? And then we got NHL, we got NBA. I know you talked about some college hoops. Anything else you guys want to get back into?
I got a question and just see. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, Case. I know you do these all the time, but are there any better bets for winning the national championship in college than taking Georgia plus, at 8-1 right now. And one of my personal favorites now is what's going on. And I know, Kip, you're not going to like this. But Texas Tech, 14-1 with that defense. I mean, is there anything better out there? I mean,
Texas Tech is impressive.
Yeah, I haven't dug through it in a little bit. I did hear someone say somewhere in town that's probably gone now since I heard about it, that Georgia was still 10-1. 10-1 seems high to me. The one thing, and I think, we have to see how this plays out. I think the bye is such a huge advantage. I mean, I think I might have mentioned on the show last week, and I think I gave him out of the starting lineup right before this run when they were 30-1. And I bet I have Notre Dame 30-1, and I really want to get behind Notre Dame and pick them to go all the way. But it's just so tough if they're going to have to play in the first round. Like, for example, I think right now they would go to Oregon. You have to go to Oregon and then probably play Ohio State or whatever. Like, how much of a huge advantage is it if you get to sit out of all that? Maybe in Georgia's case, they might even not go to the SEC championship game and get a bye. That's such a huge advantage. So it scares me. I still think there's like 5 or 6 teams that I make really about even. But I think the bye just looms so large, and it's not. I bet a bunch of these, and I guess I'm in decent shape. I don't have any of the favorites. I don't have Ohio State, Indiana, or Georgia, Texas A&M, but I'm probably going to have 4 or 5 teams in that I haven't looked at them in a while. Texas Tech defensively, yeah, I think they can play with anyone. They're skill players, and they got some guys hurt. I mean, the running back they got from USC, whose name I can't remember, went down in the preseason. I don't necessarily know if they have the home run hitters that I could talk myself into them winning 4 straight games. But that being said, there's not a single team that you line them up against and me say in a 1-game sample could they beat them. But I have a tough time thinking Texas Tech is going to get the bye. So then you got to win 4 straight games where probably you're not going to have as good of skill players in any of those games. So I'd be more interested in Georgia at like 8-10 than probably Texas Tech at 14, even though Texas Tech could easily pull an upset. I just have a tough time seeing them go 4 in a row.
And you guys know who I'm intrigued by. Oh, go ahead, Kai.
10 teams, Ohio State's plus 171, Georgia 800, Oregon plus 1,500, Bama 1,500, Notre Dame 850, Ole Miss 2,000, A&M 750, Indy 500, Texas Tech 1,400.
And I was just going to mention, you just went through that. I think Ole Miss is intriguing, but what's going on with the Kiffin situation might just be poisoning that well. Kiffin needs to declare. I don't think he's under pressure right now to say I am absolutely coming back to Ole Miss. But why can't he stand up and say, look, enough of all this coaching rumor stuff. I'm the coach of this team. We're going to the playoffs. We're going to try to win a national championship. We'll talk about the future in the future. But he doesn't do that. He keeps playing these coy little cryptic games of, not disclosing anything. And I think Ole Miss has.
That's Kiffin, yeah.
I know,
and he has said over and over and over again, it's not about the money. He said, I know it pisses my agent off. He said,
yeah,
but
so
it's not about the money. I'm like,
why
okay,
doesn't
whatever.
he come out and say, I'm all in for this team right now? But he's not doing that. I mean, I think he's really doing a disservice to Ole Miss by, I don't think it would be fair to make him make a declaration that I'm definitely coming back for Ole Miss next year as the coach if he's thinking that he really wants to take the Florida or LSU job. But on the other hand, I mean, he's got a team that 2,000 is their 2,000 is their number. I know the team has defensive deficiencies, but I think he's got a team that's as good as just about anybody in this tournament. So
he'd have to leave that town in a pine box. Didn't someone else say that one time?
Why would you take the Florida or the LSU job over Ole Miss as far as with what he's doing there? He is a hero there. Oxford's a much smaller town than Baton Rouge or Gainesville. People come in there. There's all kinds of people outside. As long as he wins 8 games a year, he can probably make $10 million plus a year, and it costs less to live there for the next 15 years versus going to either one of those places, having a shitty year in the next 5 years and getting fired.
He wants to win a championship, man. He's not going somewhere to win 8 games every single year. And he's already at Ole Miss, 8 games a year ain't enough anymore. It ain't enough anymore.
But he's won 10. He's won 10 now.
Well, and he's got to be impressive.
I think he had the team last year to win the national championship, and they blew a couple games that were inexcusable. But for him, and Case's thoughts on this. Case, what's your thoughts? I mean, the fact that he just once again assembled this roster and comes up with this quarterback that's right out of a movie script. I mean, the way he keeps putting pieces together there, wouldn't you have arrived now at the conclusion that I can actually win a national championship at this school?
Yeah, if it's really not about the money, I think that, I mean, you stay at Ole Miss, and even if you don't win a national championship, you get to the playoff a couple times. Like, you're going to have a statue out there. I think he's done a tremendous job. I personally just kind of feel like he's going to Florida, though.
I do too.
I don't know if that's why he hasn't
that.
said anything. Yeah. I think he just loves being the center of attention. He loves everyone
Absolutely.
talking about
He's always been that way.
But isn't that a detriment to his team right now that he's not being definitive?
I agree. It's a really strange situation. I heard someone, an insider yesterday with the report that there's even some growing frustration with the administration, just because maybe they've put a really big offer on the table. And
seriously, when's the last time Lane Kiffin gave a damn? I mean, seriously, he's moved around in 16 different places in the last 17 years. Do you think he gives?
But this is the new yoga.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong and they win the national championship. I have a 50-1. I'm having a hard time getting over. I completely agree with Kip. I think his best team was last year. I mean, I think
that team could have won the national championship.
Yeah,
that defense was.
So.
Look at what Nolan's doing every week in the NFL. I mean, that team had. I mean, what a group, and for them to go down and lose the game at Florida at the end of the year and completely dominate LSU and lose those losses last year were just heinous because that team
and Lane's more of a suburbanite too. I mean, listen, he's from LA. He likes the warm sun. He's a socialite. He likes to be around good looking people. He's like beautiful women.
And his wife's a Florida graduate.
She's a Florida graduate. Florida is a much better fit for him than some podunk. Now, I can say one thing: walking through the Grove is the best experience I've ever had in my entire male life. I will say that. I don't give a shit about Gainesville. It is unbelievable. The women are beautiful there. But when you think about Lane Kiffin, you think of Hollywood. You don't think Ole Miss. So, and I think Florida's probably a little bit of a better fit there from that standpoint. So that answers
fascinating stuff.
It really is. All right, guys, we'll get after it again on Friday, 10 o'clock Central Time, right here on Tony Kurre Radio, and also, of course, on the digital sports network for Coastal. We're on Audacity as well, working to get on Visa. We got a bunch of big things working here, so continue to do so. Go to K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com for all of our plays. Lots of great hoops coming up the next couple of days, and of course college and professional football always. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all. See you soon.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.